Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another Web Design Tuts Plus video tutorial. I'm Adi and I'm here today with a new tutorial on how to design and code a modern pricing table. And there will be two videos in the tutorial, one for the Photoshop part, for the design part, and the other for HTML CSS. And as always, hopefully you guys will find it useful and leave your comments. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the finished product that you can see here. It's already coded, and we have this nice modern kind of cool looking pricing table. And there aren't many images that we'll use. It's pure CSS, most of it. Yeah, let's open up Photoshop and create a new file. And this will be, let's see, 1024 by 800. This should be enough for now. So let's. The first step is to make our workspace of 960 pixels. So for that, draw this rectangle and set its width to 960. And now simply align it with the canvas like this. And then you can just drag these guides here to mark that space. And now you can just delete this. Let's save our file as, so let's see, pricing table. Let's make a new folder here to be organized, and let's call it pricing tables. Okay, so let's have a look back at our finished product here. And as you can see, we have this outer stroke that we need to define first, and then we have the header of the table. And if we take a look at the bottom here, we can see that we have just a very faint gradient that we need to draw. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and start with the outer stroke. So for that, grab the rectangle tool, and then you can just go ahead and resize this to 960 pixels width, and something like this. I think this should be enough for now. Okay, so let's just zoom in here a bit. Okay, so now this is going to be filled with white, so I'm going to do that. And you can fill a shape with the background color by using Command and backspace, or you can fill it with the foreground color, which is this kind of dark gray here, with Alt and backspace like this. So this is foreground color, Command backspace, this is background color. Okay, so let's call this base, double click it to enter the layer style, and let's give it a stroke of 1 pixel, and the color is going to be E2, E7, EB, like this. Okay, so now we have the outer stroke. And the next step that the next thing that we can do is add that gradient, just to get it done so we don't forget about it. So Command and left click on the vector mask thumbnail here to make the selection, and then go to Select, Modify, Contract by 1 pixel, and click OK. And we're doing this because if we take a look here in the bottom, let me just zoom in here so you can see better. I don't know if you can actually see it. Let me just go on the top to demonstrate. So on the top you can see that we have like 1 pixel gap between the arrow stroke and the actual content. So that just adds a bit of a nice effect to the whole composition. So we made our selection. Now we need to make it smaller, and to do that, select the rectangular marquee tool, and by holding Alt and dragging, making a selection like this, we're actually subtracting from the main selection. There we go. So now all we need to do is create a new layer, Command Shift N, and let's call this gradient bottom. Okay, and you can go ahead and grab the gradient tool by pressing G, and you can just pick if you have a gradient preset, or if you don't, you can just edit it on the fly right there. So I think I'm gonna choose a very faint color, something like this, F7, 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 all the way to white. So I'm just gonna click and drag to set the gradient. So it looks something like this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, next step, let's have a look here. And next step would be to create our header on the top here. So to do that, we're going to do the same thing as before. Make the selection, image, select, contract by 1 pixel. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see the whole thing, and just roughly cut that selection and create a new layer. Call it I don't know, table header, and we're gonna fill this with our foreground color. So it's gonna be Alt and backspace. And let me just make sure this is the correct color, and yes it is. So fill it with 3A, 3C, 3F. Okay, and this header here needs to be 140 pixels high. So I'm just gonna resize it a bit to something like this. Okay. Next step is to add that grid pattern, and to do that we need to define our grid. Now I already have them defined, but I'm just going to show you how to do it real quick. So this right here, this kind of cool grid pattern is what we'll be creating. So go to Photoshop, create a new document which is 10 by 10. Background should be transparent, and now all you need to do is zoom in, make a selection, something like this, and fill them with white. And then go to Edit, Define Pattern, and you're just gonna give it a name here. So I'm just gonna say grid pattern white, for instance. Click OK. You can get rid of this, and now you can go to table header, double click it, and you can add a pattern overlay, and you can scroll to the bottom of the list where you can find grid pattern white that we just created. So lower the opacity of this to about, I would say about 4%, 5%, something like this. See, 3%, 3%, 4%, something like this. And you can always click Snap to Origin, so the pattern would seamlessly start from the top left corner. So you get this very nice pattern. Okay, so that's done. The next step, we need to start adding the columns. Now the columns on this table are pretty much the same. Except for this, which is the recommended column, but we'll get to this in a bit. first we'll just make our 4 columns look the same. So to do that, create a new group. Let's call it call1. Let's put in some text, make it white. Now the text will be written using the Oswald typeface, which is a very cool condensed typeface. So Oswald, it's going to be 20 pixels in size. So 20 pixels, and let's just put it like 30 pixels away from the top margin, something like this. And also make sure it's set to center text. So when you copy it on the next columns and you change the text, you don't have to realign it, because it's just going to realign itself if it's set to center. So let's see, we have this, the text. Now we got to make this kind of price container bubble. So to do that, grab the ellipse tool and drag an ellipse that's 90 by 90 pixels, like this. Fill it with white. So let's say price bubble, and it needs to have a stroke of 10 pixels, and the color is going to be white. Now inside we need to put an inner shadow, and just by changing some of these properties like the angle. So let's take a look here. So angle, distance, let's say 5, size we'll put in 10, and let's lower the opacity to something like this. Maybe put the distance to 3, and I think that's pretty close to what we want. Maybe just get the opacity down to about 20%. Okay, that looks pretty good. So click OK. Now just grab this and align it so that it looks like it's cut in half by the bottom margin of the header. So let's grab this and align it with our text. Okay. Next, let's copy this text like this, and we need to put in the price. Now the price is going to be something like this, 9 per month, and oops, and I'm just going to fill it with this dark color so that I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to select these, open up text options, character options, sorry, and click on superscript. Okay, and let's see, per month should be 12 pixels in size, and this one should be 24 pixels in size. So either you choose it from here, or you choose it from this list, or you can use keyboard shortcuts. And to increase or decrease the font size by 2 points or 2 pixels, you can use Command Shift and then click press the colon and semicolon keys like this. So this is to increase and this is to decrease. So we need 24 here, so I'm just going to keep it like this. And also the line height should be something like 18 pixels, something like this. Okay, couple of changes here to the colors. The per month text should be a very light gray, which is A1, A7 and B0, I think. Yes. Okay. And this, the actual price, I don't seem to, yeah, I don't have the exact code, but it's something like this. And it's not really important what it is because you're probably going to change the color anyway when you use it for one of your websites. So I'm just gonna keep it like this. Okay, so $9 per month, and something like this. I'm not going to insist on measurements and positioning very much on the PSD part because that can be done much better from CSS. So this is just for me to see what it looks like. So I know what looks good and what doesn't look good when I see the whole picture. Okay, so we have the plan name, we have the price. The next thing, we need a sign up button like this, and we need some information here. So let's create the sign up button, create a new group, call it sign up button, and let's grab the rectangle tool and draw something like this. It should be around 80 or 90 pixels in width. I'm gonna do 80 by 30, something like that. Okay, so let's call this base. Let's apply a gradient overlay. Okay, so the gradient should go from 5F BB 2D, and it goes to 7.2 CF 3F. Okay, that's good. And let's not forget about the stroke. 1 pixel stroke, and the color is kind of a darker green, I'm sorry. So let's start from our top color and just work our way down just a tiny bit to something like this, 58BO28. Okay, so this is our base, and let's type in sign up, make it white, and as font we're going to use PT Sans 14 pixels. Align it center. Alright, this should be perfect like this. Okay, so these buttons are also going to be made from CSS, so no images involved. Okay, let's center it. Okay. Next, we need some text, and we need this text with the features and some of the quantities. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm moving kind of fast. I hope it's not a problem. This is not actually a beginner tutorial. It's more geared toward the advanced. So I don't want to spend too much time on the PSD part because most people just want to see the coding part. So I think you'll appreciate if we'll spend more time on that. Okay, as for color, we're gonna have 77808A for this, and then for each of these, which are going to be bold, we're going to have 42, 44, 47. And we're going to make them bold. Now, a very useful shortcut here to make text bold is Command, Shift, and B. And it makes it bold. And it's going to do the same. I mean, if you press Command, Shift, U, it's going to make it underline. Command, Shift, I, it's going to make it italic. So, very handy. And actually, I'm just going to do this real quick just to save a bit of time. Okay. Right. Now, open up the character panel again. For line height, we must set 40 pixels. Let's see, 40, 40, 40 pixels, like this. Okay. And let's go ahead and align the text with the rest of the content in that column. Okay, something like this. And I'm quite happy with that. Let's see what else. We have these informations in the footer, but we're gonna add those at the end. So the first column is actually complete, and the next step would be to divide the entire section right here into 4 equal columns. And to do that, there are 2 ways. Either we measure this whole thing and divide it by 4, and then we just make a selection, drag a guide, and so on and so forth. But personally, I like to do it differently. So when I need to do something like this, I grab the line tool, I bring up the guides, and I just drag a line like this, and then duplicate it 1, 2, 3, and you can already see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, and one more to set it on the opposite side. So now I select all of them, and I click on Distribute Horizontal Centers, and this equally aligns these separators, so I don't have to make any measurements. So now you can just select the first and the last, delete them, and then select all of them and drag some guides. There you go. No measurements needed, no nothing. So delete these, and now you have 4 equal columns. Now, if you want to, for instance, if you have 2 guides like this, and you want to align the contents of this first column to the center, you can do it very easily. Select the col1 group, and then select the marquee tool, make a selection like this between the 2 guides, and then with the move tool and the col1 group selected, click on align horizontal centers, and look, it aligns them very nicely. Okay, so this is col1. Let's go ahead and duplicate this for 3 times like this. So this is col2, col3, col4. And let's make some changes here. This is called corporate. It's 14, I think. Yes, 14 per month. This is business, and it's 29 a month. And this is the almighty platinum package, which is 59 per month. Now, as you can see, this is geared towards a maybe a hosting provider which wants to show its price plans, but you know, you can adapt this to whatever website you need. So let's go ahead and add some more information here, like PHP 5 support. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's really not necessary. We can edit and add this information from HTML much easier. Okay, so we did this. Next, we need to make these a bit bigger. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but if we take a look at the price bubble for the basic plan and the price bubble for the platinum, there's obviously a size difference. So the idea is to make each bubble bigger as we move to the next plan, to the more expensive plan, and that's just a kind of a visual thing that I want to do to show that it's, you know, it's a different plan, it's a bigger plan, and stuff like that. So we're also going to change the font size along with the size of the bubble. So the next one is going to be 28 pixels. So we increase the font size by 4 for each plan. So this is 28 pixels, and the price bubble is going to be 100 pixels. So we're increasing the graphic size by 10 pixels. And if I can just get my mouse to cooperate here and make this the correct size, it would be just fantastic. Okay, there we go. So that is the corporate plan. Let's just make a quick and dirty alignment there. Same thing goes for this. So we're gonna have 28, 32 pixels like this, and the price bubble is going to be 110. Now I know it's 110 because I'm looking here in the info panel, and I can see the width and height of my selection. So click OK on that. Let's grab this, column 3. Okay, and finally the platinum one should be, let's see, 24, 20, 32, 36. So it should be 36 pixels, and this should be 120. 120. There we go. Okay, so again, grab this, make a selection, and then align it. Now we also need to align the text on these bubbles, kind of on the center. And I'm just going to do this roughly in the PSD, something like this. And something like this. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, next, I think we need to move these sign up buttons just a bit lower. So let's go ahead and select all of these. And the first one. And move them down by about 10 pixels. Okay, that's 10 pixels. Okay, let's have a look. And our pricing table is beginning to take shape. Now we need to create some separators between these columns, and to do that I'm gonna create a new group. We'll call these VSEPs for vertical separators. And I'm going to grab the line tool. And I'm going to drag a line from the end of the header to the bottom of our table right here. And the line is going to be the same color as the border color of the main table, so that it's all going to look good. So it's E2, E7, EB. Okay. And let's have a looky here and a look right here, and let's just nudge this to the top. Okay. Okay. And if we take a look, actually this separator is supposed to align with this line from the grid. So just nudge it to the right 1 pixel. Okay. Next, let's duplicate this line, move it up like this, because we need to create the separator for the header part. Now this needs to be a different color, so that's why I'm using 2 different objects. Okay. And I think I made a mistake here. Okay. Okay, there we go. So for color, I'm just going to choose kind of a darker color. I don't have the exact color code, but I'm sure we can figure something out. So I think it needs to be, let's see, something like this. Looks pretty good. So 5F6365. Okay, that's good. Now copy these 2 and just duplicate them. Bring up the guides as well so you can see what you're doing, and just duplicate them like this. Okay. So let's take a look at our grid and see if our separators match like this and like this. Okay, so here we are. Now we have our separators. And the next thing, if we take a look at the finished product, is some of these lines here, the row lines that you see. And to do that, again, I'm just going to create another group, call it H rows, for instance. And I like to keep this organized in groups because it makes my job much easier later on if I only need to see parts of the design. I can just go ahead and hide or show just the separators instead of putting each separator in its own group. So for the rows, I'm going to choose the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to drag a rectangle like this. Don't worry about overflowing on the sides here. And this needs to be 40 pixels in height. So let's actually make it 40 pixels. Of course, if my mouse wants to make it 40 pixels, there we go. And the color is going to be 5 F5, 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 so a very light gray, something like this. Okay, now the rows need to go under the columns, so uh, the content inside the rows will be under it. So let's go ahead and do this. Just position them roughly, something like this. It doesn't really matter to match them perfectly here because we're going to do that from CSS. So one more. Okay, something like this. Now, what do we do about these extra margins here? We could be quite busy and waste a lot of time just selecting these and, modifying them. But one thing that you can do is go to the base layer, command click it to make a selection out of it, and then select the HRows folder group and click on mask. And there you go, it's all gone. And it's very cool. And you can go even further in that and go to select, contract by 1 pixel, and now click on mask. So now you get the gap, the 1 pixel gap here as well. Okay, so let's see, we have our rows, we have the header here, we have the prices, the button, and let's see what else. Now we need to make this footer, table footer. So to do that, create a new group, call it table footer, and the first thing we need to make the base a little bigger to something like this. And of course, don't forget to grab the gradient, move it here, and of course don't forget to resize the separators. Okay, there we go. I didn't have snapping activated, so snap to objects or edges. And to activate or deactivate it, you can just press Command, Shift, and semicolon. So it's just going to do something like this. And you can zoom in a bit closer, and you can resize them to about to here, something like this. Okay, it's not perfect, but let's not waste any more time with it. Okay, so for our table footer, grab the line tool, the color of it should be E2, E7, EB, which is the color used for all of the borders. Okay. Just going to move it down a bit to something like this. Call it SEP. And let's see, we have roughly the same thing on all the columns. So we have the price per month and then a sign up button. So let's go ahead and say this. $9 per month. This will be superscript, and it's gonna be much bigger, like 18 pixels. This will be 12 pixels, and it's gonna be a very light gray. And a very light gray means, if I can just find my notes here. Sorry about this. Oh, there we go. A1, A7, A1, A7, BO. And that's B0. Okay, so $9 per month, and we need a sign up button that we can grab from the top. Okay, looking good. Okay, let's move this down a bit to about 20 pixels. Grab this and let's move it down to about 25. Okay, that looks properly good. So grab this, duplicate it, and change it to 14. Let's do the same thing to align them. And actually, let's be quite precise about this. Okay, so that's 14, and we need 2 more plans. So grab both of these and duplicate them. That will be 29. And the last one would be 59. So 59 with the sign up button. There we go. And I think now about 80% of our pricing table is complete. And let's see what else we need. We might need a state for mouse over for the button. So a very easy way to do this is go to Base and create a new adjustment layer. So go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and click on Brightness and Contrast. And just increase the brightness to about 20, something like this. Not too much though. And as you can see, it changed the brightness to all of the elements. And to apply the layer, the adjustment layer to a single layer, you can use a clipping mask. And to do that, simply hold Alt and move your mouse cursor between the first layer, the adjustment layer, and the layer you want to make the clipping mask after. So click like this, and you will see that now the brightness layer is just showing within the clipping mask layer. So if we show it or hide it, and if we show it or hide it, it doesn't work. Hold on just a sec. This is very weird. Why isn't this working? Well, this should work. It's an adjustment layer. So let's see. Well, I never thought I'd be doing troubleshooting on Photoshop, to be honest. This is quite embarrassing. So scratch that. Let's start over. Image. Layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. Okay, use previous layer to create clipping mask. Click on OK. And for some reason, it does not work. I wonder if the other method will work. So let's see, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. Okay, this one works. Weird, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. If some of you spotted the cause of my misfortune here, please leave a comment. I'll be eternally grateful for that. So just make it about 2021. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So now we have the mouse over state for our button. All right. Let's have another look. And let's have a look at our finished product to see if we missed anything. Okay, that looks good. Now for the final part, for the final 20%, we must do these recommended plan thingy. So to do that, let's do something like this. Column 3. Let's go ahead and duplicate this and call it column 3 recommended. Okay. And column 3 recommended is going to be something like this. First of all, let's make our canvas just a little bigger so we can see what we're working with. Okay, so let's grab all of this and move it down just a bit. Okay, that's good. So where were we? Column 3 recommended. Okay, let's zoom in here a bit and create, grab the rectangular marquee tool and make a selection just within the borders of the third column. Okay, so something like this, and it goes all the way down. Okay, we missed a little spot here, but don't worry about that. Create a new layer. Let's call it dark BG. Let's move it to the bottom. Now, one quick tip I can give you here is that if you want to move a layer from the top of a layer group to the very bottom, instead of dragging it, you can just drag it to the name of the group, and it automatically gets thrown to the back. So let's fill that. Oops. Let's fill it with the dark color, and let's go ahead and expand it by just 1 pixel like that. Okay. Now on the top, I'm gonna expand it a bit more because I want it to look like it. I wanted to make it stand out more. So something like this, maybe 7.5. Okay. So let's see. We have business. We have this. We'll need to modify some colors here. And let's start doing just that. So this one, the price in the footer, is going to be white, like this. These items right here are going to be a slightly lighter color. So let's try this. Let's try something like this. Something like this. So A4, A8, AC. Okay. And the bold ones should be white. So I'm just gonna select these and make them white. And I'm just pressing Command and backspace here because it's very easy to do that. Okay, next we need to work on these alternating rows. And as you can see, they have different colors on white, and they should have different colors on this dark background as well. So I'm just gonna do something like this. Go down to horizontal rows and duplicate this, call it H rows dark, delete the layer mask for now because we don't need it, and select all of these, and you can just resize them to something like this. And actually these should be above the column 3 background. So let's try this. If we move them up here above the dark BG, yeah, it's gonna be good. So for color, let's go ahead and choose a slightly lighter color than the background. So I'm thinking something like this, 46, 48 for C. And do the same for the rest of the 4. Looking good. And finally, we must take care of this line right here. And let's see how we can do that. We can either duplicate it and move it, so we would have the main line and another line here, but I think we can do something else. And that line, we know it's in the footer. So let's go to table footer, and we can see it here, the separator. Okay, so I think what we can do is, if we just zoom in here, make a selection, just the piece that we're interested in, like this, go to layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast, okay, and just reduce the brightness. Oh, that doesn't work because it also reduces the brightness around it. Nah, scratch that. That was a bad idea. I'm just gonna go the original way. So duplicate it, and we can just mask it to this area. So let's select. Where are you? Column 3, recommend. Select the dark BG. Go here, click on mask, and now you can just change its color to something that works better, to something like that, for instance. Okay, and we have just the little tiny pixel here that's all by itself, and we can go ahead and mask that as well. Okay, there we go. And actually that is a bit too much, so I'm just going to lower it to a much darker value, something like this. Okay, now we took care of this, and we took care of all the text. And next thing, and we're almost over, we need to change the stroke. on this to a to a lighter color, to something like this, for instance, because that white stroke on a dark background, it just didn't work. So I'm thinking something like this actually looks very good. Yeah, I think I'll keep this one. Oh, hold on, this is the HTML. Okay. So comparing to the final product, they're pretty much the same here. Okay. And the final thing that we need to do is this we recommend badge. And it's a very easy thing to do. Let's see where we're going to put it. We're going to put it here. So create a new group, call it recommend badge, and grab the rectangle tool, make a long selection, draw a long rectangle, something like this, 30, maybe 35 in height. Let's see. Yeah, 35 looks pretty good to me. So for background color, let's choose this blue. And let's also apply some effects like gradient. And actually, I'm just going to go with a gradient from this very nice blue to a lighter blue, to something like this. Okay, and then I'm going to apply a satin effect. Now satin is very nice if you want to make glossy glossy kind of looking things, but here I'm just gonna play around with the angle a bit till I get what I want. Something like this, maybe a little less for opacity. Okay, something like this. And finally, I'm gonna use an arrow glow. Change the blend mode from screen to normal, and I'm gonna set the color to a very light blue, so it's gonna be something like that. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'll stick with that. Let's see how it looks like. And the final piece, it's going to be the text. So the text says, we recommend, and that's going to be white. Hold on just a sec. Okay, so that is white. For typeface, I think I used Museo Sans. I think I like that quite a lot. So let's try this. Maybe tamper with the letter spacing a bit. Maybe a bit more. Okay, something like that. And let's also add a drop shadow. And the drop shadow just needs to be something like that. Okay, so now select both of these, align them, and then just select it, rotate it by 45 degrees. Oops. So that it looks something like that. And I think that is a bit too too high. So instead of 35, I'm just going to use 30 as the height here, or 29, it doesn't really matter. And for the text, this is 12. Let's try with 11, so a bit smaller. Okay. So let's try it now, see how it looks like. And I think it's almost complete, except you see these letters, they're kind of they don't look very good like this. So I think that's because we have the entire thing in a group and the text is still editable. So instead, if we duplicate this and we merge it and we create one big image from it, now if we rotate it, you see the text doesn't look that out of place anymore. It looks kind of linear right now. So that could be very well our solution. So let's rotate it a bit more and position it just the way we want it. I think I rotated it just a bit too much. No, that's actually correct, 45%, 45 degrees. So position it like this, and then select dark BG and click on mask to mask the entire image. And there we go, we have our badge. Now it's pretty similar to what I did here, but you know, if you don't like this one, you can always grab the original files that I did and use this one. Okay, so that is done, my friends, for the Photoshop part. And in video number 2, we're going to be doing the HTML and CSS. So we'll be grabbing some images from the PSD, and we're going to go ahead and write the entire code for it. So thanks for watching so far. I will see you guys back in video number 2.